Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Do you have friends that often use the Google, books, or journals in electronic form as a learning resource lately? Or are you often using electronic form like ebooks as a learning resource? If your answer is yes, with these any questions, please allow me, Zulfa Az-Zahra from Universitas Muhammadiyah, Yogyakarta, to present to you research paper with the title The Effectiveness of Using Ebooks on Dentistry Students During COVID-19 Pandemic, batch 2020 of Universitas Muhammadiyah, Yogyakarta. This presentation will consist of introduction, literature review, research methods, results, discussion, and the last is conclusion. The first is introduction. Major change that occurred in the learning system during the COVID-19 pandemic forced students to adapt to online learning. The significant change is finding new materials from various sources such as the internet like Google, books, journals, and the other media. Ebooks are one form of technology holding numerous features that can motivate students to improve their study skill. Recently, lecturers are trying to make it easier for dentistry students by providing file types such as PDF or free access to the materials and ebooks as appropriate study materials for the semester. On the other hand, just a few students are reported to be reading the material when it's offered in ebooks rather than printed materials such as textbooks. Tosun 2014 conducted a study on reading printed books or ebooks, and the findings revealed that a majority of participants didn't read ebooks. Several research studies conclude that students prefer reading printed books to ebooks. According to the findings, none have focused on and solved the issues that exist in ebooks. This makes the author interested in research to find out and measure the efficiency of using ebooks on dentistry students during the COVID-19 pandemic. Hence, the research questions that I used in research paper are: the first is how effective is the use of ebooks for dentistry students during the pandemic, and second is what is the impact of using ebooks in improving online learning during the pandemic. Now, we are going to move up to literature review, part 1, which is the theoretical framework. The definition of ebook or the term ebook refers to a text-based production that is similar to a book but is available in electronic form and could be read on various multimedia clips and materials including text, images, audio, and videos. Ebooks are simpler and more convenient, allowing them to be read at any time and any place using only handheld devices such as the Kindle, iPad, tablets, and other similar devices. And the value of ebooks is many research show that adopting ebooks in the learning process is more effective. Numerous educational institutions began to adapt and replace traditional textbooks with ebooks, which were found to be more cost-effective and preferred kind of educational research by many universities throughout the world. We can continue to the empirical review that according to Az-Zahra et al. 2020 discovered that academic electronic books had a beneficial effect on undergraduate students' achievement in the Arabic communication skills course. Additionally, Abdul Karim 2011 at the Faculty of Education in Oman confirmed that efficiency of individual self-learning simulated by computer and ebooks in the development of creative thinking for second-grade scientific students. On the other hand, according to Al-Sadi et al. 2017, students at Sultan Qaboos University participate in a number of ebook behaviors but don't prefer ebooks over traditional ones in their studies. Next is research methods. This quantitative study was conducted to all undergraduate education as dentistry students in Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, and the type of the data used is cross-section data, and the data were collected using a written self-reported questionnaire, and the sample size of the study is 15, which includes 15 students of second years of the semester who agreed to participate to learn more about the effectiveness of using ebooks on dentistry students during the COVID-19 pandemic. The questionnaire was designed with combination of multiple questions, selected response questions, and closed-ended questions like yes or no, or select one or all that apply options. The questionnaire was distributed digitally using link of Google Forms, and the author spread the link through personal chat on WhatsApp. Let's move on to results. In this graphic, respondents was asked about students self-reported on use of study materials, and for the question is, if you do not attend the lectures, how do you obtain the material? Also, the question, how do you take notes? And from the answer, this chart shows the majority of the responding students reported obtain the material from electronic notes from instructor and notes from previous years, while 40% were reported to not miss lectures. Over 60% of the respondents reported that using pencil and paper for taking notes, while 40% were reported that using laptop or smartphone or iPad and audio recorder more often for study. Next, the question is talked about students reported use of study materials by number and percentage of total respondents. And from this table regarding student self-reported percentage of delivery and use of study materials, over 40% of the respondents spent 25% or less time studying from assigned e-books, with 40% actually reading what was required of them. Most of the responding students reported that they spent 75% or less time studying from their notes. The students also stated that their teachers offered study materials to them more than 70% of the time, and that PowerPoint or ebooks or other related media were typically available electronically. For the closed-ended questions, from this table that contains several questions such as, does the material obtained electronically help in better remembrance? And is the material electronically more accessible? And the last is, are materials electronically more cost effective? And this table shows that 80% of the respondents believe that material obtained electronically such as PowerPoint, ebooks, or other related media help in the remembrance of the content. Also, 100% of the responding students agreed that material was electronically more accessible, and over 90% of reported that materials electronically were more cost effective. Last is from the chart that contains several questions too, such as, the first is regarding course material, do you feel lectures are? And the second is comfort level with ebooks currently. And the last is, which media do you think is better? From the start shows that over 60% of the respondent students reporting that textbook or printed media more better than other media, with 20% of the respondent students have some results for electronic or digital media and no difference between ebooks or textbooks. Moving on to the discussion, during the COVID-19 pandemic, several universities and higher education institutions began experimenting with the implementation of academic ebooks as an alternative to textbooks. The use of ebooks by dentistry students during the pandemic in this study has shown that effectiveness in transferring the material from lectures to students, where the majority of responding students reported obtaining the material, likely electronic notes from instructors such as PowerPoints, ebooks, module, and notes from previous years, while 40% were reported to not miss lectures. Furthermore, 100% of respondents agreed that they spend their time for study at home, and most of these respondents said that they study on their own with of the offer, and the rest of respondents spend their time studying with a classmate. According to this result, dentistry students can acquire independency in learning through directed self-learning. In addition, all of the responding students agreed that material was electronically more accessible, and over 90% shows that the materials electronically were more cost-effective. Also, over 90% reporting they currently feel comfortable with ebooks. These findings support a study that the ease of use e-learning systems implemented as being extremely simple to use and operate. Other studies, Az-Zahra et al. 2020, showed that students' learning efficiency was developed as a result of interactive academic electronic books, which improved their grades and had a favorable impact on their behaviors and interests. Moreover, the ebooks supported the faculty staff members in their teaching of the students in the university, as well as the study that most of students receive the material from their instructor. Furthermore, the study by Najih Rajih Al-Sali and colleagues stated that faculty and teachers still didn't encourage or admit the use of ebooks in place of traditional printed books, and they prefer the use of traditional printed electronic books, particularly when intensive reading is required for long periods of time. Similarly, most of dentistry students also reporting that textbooks or printed media more better than other media. Therefore, although the use of ebooks is easier and becomes an alternative for students learning media, on the other hand, students and teachers are still choose to use textbooks as the main learning media. Finally, we come to the conclusion. After all, this research stated that the effectiveness of using ebooks in transferred the material from lectures to students. Also, it showed that dentistry students can acquire independency in learning through directed self-learning, and the use of ebooks more accessible, cost-effective, and makes dentistry students felt comfortable for study. The implication of this research is that the effectiveness of ebooks can provide an overview for students and lecturers to be able to consider more about the alternative media during pandemic, with the most important factor to be students' understanding of the material. It's recommended that further studies will be conducted on a larger and varied scale for the respondents, considering that the majority of the respondents are women. And furthermore, the current study was carried out in one dentistry college, so additional research should be conducted in the future using subjects from other universities to assess the adoption and using of ebooks in higher educational institutions. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.